Hello, it's me, and I've got a large box to, well, unbox. This comes from Raphael, and he has been responsible for a lot of fascinating dodecahedral puzzles, like the ghost dodecahedron, the bump dodecahedron, a lot of dodecahedrons. Okay, so let's get right into this. It's always fun to unbox large boxes because I anticipate either large puzzles or lots of puzzles. But every so often he has whole lots that he's selling. So let's see what we got. Now Raphael is synonymous with quality, so I'm very much looking forward to see what we got. Whoa! Okay. I'm not doing this so right. Okay. Wow. So let's see what we have. Some more interesting silks. I always get those, which are pretty cool. Some extra stickers. Okay. So I'll start off with the smaller ones here. And let's see what this is. And I like to not try to remember what it is so I can be pleasantly surprised. And I apologize because I don't always remember the names of them that I got. But let's see. So, out with you. Oh, it's an endless... There we go. I think I've broken ground. Okay, what do we have here? Who are you? What are you? Okay. So, let's see what this is. Okay, so let's see how this moves. First off, when you look at the number of sides, it actually has, well, 20 sides. So it's an icosahedron, but let's see how it moves. It's face turning over here. But let's see how many angles that we have. If I turn it here, I can continue turning. So that's 1, 2, 3. So this is like a three-sided side here. So a three-sided side with 20 sides. So basically, what kind of puzzle moves like that? And that would actually be, it moves like an octahedron. So this is really the same thing as this guy. It's a face-turning octahedron. But because it's an icosahedron, we'll call it an icoctahedron. So an icoctahedron is basically a face-turning octahedron shaped like an icosanoid. So it's taking one face-turning platonic solid and turning it into another platonic solid, but of the same core, basically. So this is going to be an interesting expression of perspective bending. So I really look forward to doing this. I have to refresh my memory how to solve icosahedron. Now this is basically a three-sided puzzle. So 1, 2, 3. So same kind of thing. So this will be a nice expression of how to skew my perspective, because I remember I had to go like this and do some down, down, up. So I'm going to come back with this puzzle later in a scrambled state and solve it at some future time. So this is an icoctahedron, which is shape modification of a face-turning octahedron. Okay, so now when you're looking at transformations, I've shown transformations of dodecahedrons. So now these are transformations of octahedrons, the other platonic solid. And I love to see transformations of platonic solids. There's something about the symmetry of it. So what do we have here? Oh, now I think I know what the motif is here. Now, there is a dodecahedral version of this called a dodectahedron. And I actually bought that, but I can't find it. I looked and I looked and I looked, but I could not find it. I don't even know if I have it, but I'm quite sure that I do. But in any case, although I apologize I cannot show you that, this is a master dodecahedron. This is an octahedron just like this, but it's actually a master version, so it's more like this. So the master version has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, or 4 layers. So to this, it's a dodecahedron, but it's actually a face-turning octahedron. Let's see how it turns. I may have to see. I'm turning it wrong. Aha, okay, there it is over here, which means that this turns over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the master version of this. And I cannot find my other version. I hope it's not gone somewhere. I'm sure it's buried in the collection. But so basically, if we look at this over here, we've got the icosahedron version, icoctahedron, and dodecahedron. And this is the master version over here. Now the thing about these is that it's non-shape shifting, which is actually kind of nice. I sort of like the symmetry of that. See if I can get more sides to turn here. Yeah, it's just going to take a little bit of breaking and just a little bit stiff, but there's something very symmetric and very beautiful about a puzzle like this. Okay, so there you have it. These are the octahedral shape modifications, and in the spirit and interest of completing a series, if this is the octahedral version, and this is the dodecahedral version, I'll just take this out of the way here, and this is the icosahedral version, is there a cubic version, which is the next phase down? So these are platonic solids here, 12-sided, 8-sided, 20-sided, I should put this here, 12-sided and 8-sided. So what is the cubic version of a face-turning octahedron? And that's actually this guy over here, the Rex cube. So this is the cubic version of the face-turning octahedron. And I like this because it's nice and symmetric. But the Rex cube was not the first version of that. The first version of a face-turning octahedron, cubic version of that, is this guy, which is the Praxis cube. So the Praxis cube looks like it's a shape mod of the Rex cube, except for the fact that this came first, interestingly enough. I think this was designed first. But it really moves kind of the same, so I should sort of put that over here. So this is my more or less completed platonic solid shape modifications of the octahedron. They're all octahedrons, but they're turned into other platonic solids, which I think is fascinating. Oh, what do we have here? Oh, good, stickers. Can never have too many extra stickers. Okay, so this guy I think I'll call my star attraction, and I want to open this a little more carefully. So what other platonic solids are left? You've seen cubic versions, you've seen tetrahedral versions, and you've seen dodecahedral versions. So what we have, well, it looks like a tetrahedron, but it is a shape mod of something else. Okay, this is fascinating. Look how busy this looks. One of the busier looking puzzles. So what this is this is a tetrahedral version of this guy. It's an icosahedron. Now, it's actually a radio cube 3, but this is the, wow. So this is the icosahedral version of that, more or less. Not exactly, but it proves the point. So this is the Eitan star. I do have a dodecahedral version. There's a couple different types, but this is a dodecahedral version over here. So this is actually an icosahedron made to look like a dodecahedron. So icosahedron, dodecahedral transformation of an icosahedron, and there's also the cubic version, which is over here. So this is the cubic version of a icosahedron, and this is the radio cube, I believe, because it is a modification of the radiolarian. So this fascinating specimen here is the tetrahedral version of this. So this is the tetrahedralarian. So let's see how this guy moves. It's a perfect tetrahedron, and just like all Raphael's puzzles, this moves great over here. But look how busy it looks. So much going on. So that's one side. Here's another side. So where do they fit all the other sides? This is a 20-sided puzzle. So I must be able to move this over here. Wow, that's amazing. So you saw the dodecahedral version of that. This is the radiolarian version of it, the icosahedral version. So this turns over here. So we're packing sides in. This turns here, this turns here, which means this turns over here. So we're packing sides in quite densely here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and well, I've got a circle over here. So what do I do with the circle? Well, I suspect the circle moves. The only issue is it's hard to grab onto it. Does it actually turn? I think it does, but I wonder what's the best way of making it do that. Okay, let's, well, we've got this turned over here. And let's see what some shape-shifting moves. Wow, so this shape shifts really nicely over here. This is going to get very confusing very quickly. It's a very solid looking puzzle, Let's see if I can do some more shape shifting. And I think we can turn up here. So just getting into the learning curve is going to be an issue. Now it's all a question of alignment. Yeah, so this does turn here. Let's turn this, oh wow, this turns here too. This is, my jaw is dropped open right now. Okay, how can I get this to turn? And it's not that it's locking up, it's just that, there we go. So I'm moving this guy around here. And I gotta be careful because I don't quite want to scramble it yet. This guy looks like it wants to move, but I don't think it's lined up quite right. There we go. Alright, so this is going to be fascinating. I don't want to scramble it too much more than this. I'm just kind of testing the motion. The question that I have though is this center area here. How easy is this to turn? Because there is 3 whole sides. Maybe I do it like two-handed. I don't know. Does it turn? It looks like it wants to. I'm afraid of peeling off the stickers though. Aha! There we go. Wow. Now what's interesting is that these turns are equivalent. Amazing. So maybe I can turn it to here. Yeah. So these are equivalent. Now I have to say the flat circles are a little difficult. So what if I turn it like this? Can I start making other turns? No? Okay, now this can turn and it's not exactly lined up. Does that make a difference? No, actually it doesn't. I'm just wondering if it not lining up, because this can make a turn over here, but I can't turn these guys until I move this to here. So is that like a version of corner cutting? Or does that just mean I haven't completed a turn? When I do this, now I can turn. So I'm going to have to explore this a little bit more, but this is amongst the most fascinating and busiest puzzles that I have. But here you have stretched out in front of you much of the Platonic versions of a octahedron. 20-sided, 12-sided, 6-sided, and 4-sided. And behind that is all the Platonic versions of an octahedron, 12-sided, the 20-sided, 12-sided, 8-sided, and 4-sided. I don't have the tetrahedral version as of yet. So there you have it, just kind of putting in all the new ones together. More fantastic creations by Raphael. Should be a lot of fun in terms of scrambling and trying to solve with perspective bending. So to Raphael, once again, I say for all of your hard work and brilliant creations, thanks for selling and thanks for watching. Hello, it's me, and I have a new puzzle to unbox. This one comes from the legendary record-breaking designer Tony Fisher, who not only designs good puzzles but creates ironclad boxes. You know, I don't even know where the box begins and the wrapping stops or something. Anyway, I think I found a way in. So there's a lot that is owed to Tony Fisher's ingenuity, and I'm sure that this is one of them, but there's something about this puzzle that made me feel like it really belonged in my collection. Right?
Yes.
See? Okay, so what creation do we have? Aha! Nicely packed. Okay, so it looks, for all intents and purposes, like a 3x3, or maybe a 3x3x1, but this is a, wow, so this is a handmade puzzle, and this is called the mental block, I think. Mental block or mental flop. I think mental block. But anyway, let's see what it is that we have nicely signed over here. Movement is really good, but what is it that we have here? So this is obviously a side here. This is a side here, so it appears to be a 2-layer puzzle. And well, what kind of a puzzle is it? Oh, I find myself scrambling it without meaning to. Wow. So this is I think this might be a Skewb. The thing is it doesn't have that click mechanism that Skewbs have. Yeah, well, if I look at it like that, I think that this probably is a Skewb, where we've got corners and we've got centers.
No.
So it looks like this is the axis of rotation here, and this is the axis of rotation here. Alright, so I'm going to examine this further and see what it is that I've got here. So now that I have more time, I thought I'd go through an attempted solve of this. So when looking at the structure of this mental block, it's actually, as you can see it, well, it's a Skewb. So it's a Skewb modification, much like this. So it's really a corners and center kind of a puzzle. And it turns at the corners, but a deeper slice. So if this were a corner, which is the axis of rotation, pulling centers and corners with it, that's what's happening here. So my centers are going to be this, and all these large chunks are going to be centers, and all these little triangles are going to be corners.
Down, up.
Oh, I see. So how then would I solve this? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I had some other requests for this puzzle, which I think is the case cube, maybe, or the container cube. So this is actually called the Fisher Skewb. Fisher Skewb because, well, if you have a Skewb and you go right off to the side, so to fisher something is to basically skew it off to the corner. And if you do that, it'll actually look like this, where your corners are here, here. These little guys are corners, and your center is here, here, and these big centers over here. So that's not at all unlike this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try my hand at solving this thing. First, to characterize exactly what this is, so this is actually a modification of a Skewb, this mental block. And what a Skewb is it's a corner turner where there's a corner in the middle, and it's a deep corner turner. So that's as opposed to a shallow corner turner, which is this Dino Cube. So a Dino Cube is a corner turning puzzle. In that, you don't actually have any corners. They're all edges, but it turns at the corners. But there's no actual corners here. In this case, it's a corner turner where you do have a corner piece, but it's a deep corner where you're dragging these other corners with it. It's a deep slice piece where you're dragging centers with it as well. So this is a modification of this. So we have to kind of identify what is what. So this is a center. And if the vertex is a corner, then this is a corner over here. So all these little pieces, which are the vertex of all of the turning of this puzzle, are these guys over here. So these are all corners, just like this. And this is a center, and this is a center. And these large pieces here are also centers. So they have that same kind of motion. Now what's interesting is this doesn't have, notice most has this clicking mechanism. This does not have a clicking mechanism, so it's very, very smooth, maybe more smooth than it should be, but it makes me wonder about the stability with it. So I'm going to see about scrambling it. Now I suspect a lot of this is very similar to what I would call, or what we would call the Fisher Skewb, and that's what this guy is over here. So what a Fisher puzzle is you take your puzzle and then you kind of angulate it. You turn it off to the side, cut it down, and turn it back, build it back up into a cube. Only because it's angulated, its turning is a little different than you would expect, but still the pieces are the same. An example of that, and since we're honoring Tony Fisher, these are all named after the same guy because this was made by Tony Fisher. If I were to take a Rubik's Cube, a 3x3, and the center's over here, that's the center of the vertex of the orbit here, of the turning. If I were to put it on the side like this, cut it down and move it, turn it back into a cube, build it up back, I'd end up with this. So this is the Fisher 3x3, where this piece here is actually an edge, just like this is, and these are corners. So this is an edge, and your centers are here, just like your centers are here, and the edges are surrounded here. So this turns at the side. So these are fissured. So when you fissure a puzzle, you turn it on its side, slice it down, build it back as a cube, and see this very strange feature over here. Well, so too, if I take this, turn it on its side, and build it back into a cube, then this is what you have. But the solving is very similar. The main difference is that when I built up the centers, this center has rotational symmetry, which means it's the same no matter how you rotate it. It's the same color and it's a symmetric shape. Here, these centers have basically two colors, and it's not symmetric regarding its shape. These centers are, but this is not. So this is kind of like a super skewb. So I think these two are solved very similarly, and I actually did a tutorial of this guy, which is the the container cube, which is basically another skewb modification. And I rather suspect the solve is very similar, but I did get some requests of solving this one. So I figure if this wasn't good enough to show you how to solve this, because the form is really the same. Here are your centers. This is a center, these guys are centers, and these little triangles are all corners, so are these. Well, maybe what I can do is kill two birds with one stone, work through this solve, and see if I can demonstrate this as well. But bear in mind, this is a super skewb. So let's start right in with a scramble with this guy. Turn, turn. So in terms of the quality of the puzzle, the turning is so good, it's like butter. It really moves pretty well, but it does make me wonder about stability also. So I'm actually turning it very carefully. In many ways, these are like prototypes. It's not mass-produced, so some of the kinks might not have been worked out, but it is a Fisher puzzle, and Fisher puzzles are known to be of high quality. But still, as has been forewarned, you got to be careful. So this is what it looks like in a pretty good scrambled state, so that's pretty good. But why don't we scramble this guy here too? Now this one is mass produced, so you can tell it's been through factory. You can tell that there's a degree of stability. It also similarly does not have the clicking mechanism, but it's interesting because it's a skewb named after Tony Fisher because of that first mechanism. I don't know if he was the first to make this, but it is a Fishered Skewb. Okay, so now by means of trying to gain my perspective, see, without the clicking it's a little more difficult to turn. Okay, so by means of gaining my perspective, why don't I compare this to a simple skewb solve? These are fun puzzles to start off with. They're not exactly like cubes, but from this will come the Elite Skewb and the Master Skewb. Okay, which I maintain, by the way, these are 2x2 puzzles. Okay, so the first step, I suppose with this, is what I like to do is I like to build the first layer. I like to take the center and put the corners in. So you see this green corners here. To turn it around, I move it down, rotate it on the side, and then move it in. So I've got this in. I've got to get the proper other green and silver. So I find the other green and silver, which is here. Move that in. You can see it's rotated wrong, so I move it down. And then with this at the vertex of the orbit, turn it at the vertex and move it up. So now I'm looking for the other green and blue, which is this. Move it down so that it's away from here. It becomes the center of its turning vertex. Turn it and move it up. Now same thing with this, just simply move it in. You see it's rotated wrong, so I move it out. Now this is going to participate with it, so I turn it, move it up, and turn this back to put this back in. Still not right, so turn it down, rotate it, turn it up, put this in here. It's kind of like an RID RD, so in that way, that gets this over here. So what I want to do is I want to build up sides just like that. And I'm going to build to this guy. So if I were to do the Fishered version of this, well, let's find a center. I'm going to use these centers here. So I've got this white and red. I'll put the green over here. Now, how do I know it's green here, not another one? Well, it could be. I see this is orange and this is green. So I lay odds it's not green that's supposed to be here. It's supposed to be blue. Because this corner would want this to be orange if green is supposed to be here. So I'm going to put blue there, kind of on a hunch. So where's my blue and white? Right over here. So I'm going to move that in. You can see it's rotated wrong. So too I'm going to move it down so that it's at the center of its vertex. Turn it, move it up. So same technique. This is here. Now opposite red is going to be orange. You can see it's rotated wrong. So I move it down away from here. And then it's at the center of its own vertex. Orbit it around, turn it around, move it up. So now this is in. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. Find the last remaining white and green, which is right here. So now this is fine. So this is the same configuration as this, believe it or not. And the reason why this still looks very wrong is because, well, This is like a super skewb, where rotation has meaning and it's still shape-shifted. Okay, so let's do the same thing here. Let's get the equivalent. So why don't we do green, and I'm just going to put all the other green corners in. So I see this over here. This is rotated wrong, so I'm going to move it away until it's at a different layer. The center of its vertex, rotate it till it's over to here, and move it in, so now this is in. So let's find another green right over here. Okay, this is in, but is it in the right configuration? Well, I see if this is going to be yellow, this is going to have to be orange, and it's red, so therefore this needs to be the red one. So I know I have to find the red one, which is here, so let's move this down. Move this in. You can see it's rotated wrong, so let's move it away. It's at the center of its vertex, so I'm going to orbit it. I'm going to turn it. So it's all a question of perspective. We're dealing with the same kind of puzzle, it's just a question of perspective. Boy, this moves really well. Too good, maybe. So now this is in. This is opposite here, so white is opposite orange, yellow rather. And it just might be Tony Fisher style to change the color scheme on me, but I suspect not. So now this has to come in, but it's got to rotate. So I'm going to take it out of this area, make it the center of its orbit, rotate it around. It knocked this guy out, but that's okay. Move him in, and rotate this guy back. Okay, so this now is the equivalent of this, which is the equivalent of this. So the next step, once I have all that in, is what I usually do is I try to fill in these centers by doing a down, down, up, up. So this guy needs to come over here, and I simply go down, down, up, up, and I'm swapping these two centers. After I do that, I find the one opposite, which is purple, which is over here, and I'm going to move this in, down, down, up, up. So this is in and this is in. Once I do that, I can work within this plane. This needs to come down to here, down, down, up, up, and now, by the way, when I did that, it swapped these two, but I don't have to worry about that. There's no parity problems with this puzzle. It's going to swap back when I move it here and move this center down to here. These two will swap back. So down, down, up, up. So what I've done is I've got all of these guys in. All the centers are in. It's now a question of corners. So let's apply that to this. So I'm holding it over here, and this is a green and orange. So where's the green and orange? Right over here. So I'm going to swap these two by doing my down, down, up, up. All right, so this is in. I go right behind it for the green and red. And if I can't find it up here, I have to take this and put it up here. Now I know that when I put this up here, this will swap to over here. I won't worry about that as long as I'm going to get them in the same plane. So I'm going to take this and move them up here, because while I have this accounted for, I'm going to try to get the one right opposite accounted for as well. So let's move this up, down, down, up, up. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and put this down here. Now remember, this guy, which was here, got shifted to here, but that's okay. Once I move this down, I can then take this, which will be up here, and move it back down to here, and this will not be affected once it's down here. Now it's important to know which direction. I'm not going to move it down like this, it'll be backwards. So I'm going to go whoop, down, down, up, up. So this is in. So now I'm going to go opposite and move this guy down here. So, and it will not affect the one back here. It will affect these two, but we don't care about that right now. So down, down, up, up. Okay, in that way, this is in and this is in, the way that I got these two in. So now I'm going to work on this plane, and I can see that this blue and orange belongs down here. Now when I put this down, when I swap these two will swap, but again, there will not be any parity issues. Eventually they'll swap back. So down, down, up, up. So this is in, these two got swapped, but all I have to do is move this down to here, and these two will swap back. So I'll go down, down, up, up. Okay. So this is in and this is in. Now this is really the same configuration as this, almost exactly the same configuration, where these two corners are in, just like these two are in, and these two are opposite. But you might notice something a little disturbing. These two are backwards. or they're rotated. That's okay if that happens. Hold it here. If I do down, down, up, up twice, so move it up and down, move it up here and then move it back, I can rotate it. When I do that, these will flip and then flip back again. So I'm going to go down, I'm going to swap these two centers, down, down, up, up, and I'll put it in again, down, down, up, up. You can see this is in, but you see that I flipped these. When I flipped them and flipped them back, it rotated it. And you might think, oh, I'm right back where I started from, but no, not so much because I still have to rotate this. So when I do this twice, these will now be solved. So down, down, up, up, and again, down, down, up, up. Okay, so now you can see we dealt with the supercube aspect of it, and we have two corners out. So can I apply that to this beast over here? So once again, these are where my centers are going to be. I've got this green, orange, and yellow here. So let's go where the orange and yellow is. It's right over here. So I'm going to swap these two centers here, keeping my perspective about me. That's going to be down, down, up, up. Okay, so this is in, so I want to get the one just opposite in. It's not up here, just like what happened with this, it's here somewhere, and that's going to be the white and red. White and red is right over here. So it actually is in, but it's upside down. So what I'm going to want to do, notice that all of these are in. Some are upside down and some aren't. It's interesting, these two are upside down. So let's move this up and back down, which will make this right side up and won't change this. These guys are going to rotate every which way, but don't worry about that now. So down, down, up, up, and again, down, down, up, and up. Okay, so this is in and this is in. So let's take a look at what we got here. You can see this is in, but this is rotated upside down. We didn't really see that before, so this represents an interesting parity where only one is rotated, but none of the rest are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up and down to rotate this back, and these are going to be then rotated. So let's see what happens when we try that. This is new territory for me, actually. Down, down, up, up, and again, down, down, up, up. Okay, then move this in, and now these are predictably rotated wrong, and that's going to be okay, because when I rotate this, these two are going to be rotated wrong. Then when I rotate this, these two will then be rotated right. So somehow it got to the same point. So one, 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 two, 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 two. So this is rotated correctly. These are rotated wrong, but that's okay. When I rotate this, all shall be right with the world. One, 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 two, two. Now I got to tell you, I'm losing perspective a little bit. Two, two. Okay, so we have the same configuration. Two are out, two are in, two are out, two are in, two are out, and two are in. So I know that the concepts work. Now here's the main difference. I need to get this rotated. I want to get this to rotate counterclockwise, but if I get this to rotate counterclockwise, when I rotate them, every one of these are going to rotate as well. So I'm going to be caught into an infinite cycle here, because if I rotate this correctly, these will be rotated incorrectly. So I actually want to rotate this clockwise, so it'll be out, and that way this will rotate clockwise and this will be out. I want all four to be out so that I can rotate them in. And the way that that's going to work is I'm going to hold this in front of me, and I want this to rotate clockwise. If I move this down and up, these will rotate, but we don't care because it's not a Super Skewb. But these will all rotate as well. So I'm going to do that 2 times, and I'm going to do that in the opposite direction. And here's what I mean by that. This needs to rotate clockwise so that this can rotate clockwise. So I'm going to do this rotation opposite. So if this has to rotate clockwise, I'm going to start my rotation counterclockwise like this. Not clockwise like this, because then that'll rotate these correctly, but counterclockwise like this. So if this has to rotate clockwise, I'm going to rotate this counterclockwise by going down, down, up, up, and again, down, down, up, up. Now by doing that, all of these are rotated wrong. So these are out of sync, so I'm going to move it here because these are going to be in sync. So now that I have it here, this has to rotate clockwise, and this has to rotate counterclockwise, and this has to rotate counterclockwise. So because of that, I'm going to start this in an opposite direction clockwise. So if this has to go counter, this goes counter, I'm going to start off clockwise. So it's going to be down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up, and it solves it. So let's apply that to this. Now how does this have to rotate? Well, is it clockwise or counterclockwise? If I rotate it like this, then it's in. So that means in this perspective, this edge rotating will bring it in. So that's going to be clockwise. But because it's opposite, this has to rotate this way, counterclockwise. However, I don't want to solve it that way. If I hold it like this, I have to hold it in the middle. These two are my centers, just like these two. Because it's fissured, I have to hold it off. And I don't want to rotate it in a position, if I rotate this counterclockwise, it'll be in. Because this clockwise rotation, put it on this side. To put it on this side opposite, it's got to be counterclockwise. But I want this to rotate clockwise. And the difference between a super skewb and a skewb is if I do it twice, down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up, this will rotate, and these will rotate. But if I do it 4 times, these will rotate back where it was. So I did it twice here, I got to do it 4 times here, and it's going to be the opposite. So remember how I did it opposite here? If I had to rotate a corner clockwise, I did this rotation counterclockwise. Now I'm going to do it in the same direction because I got to do it 4 times. So let's see how that makes sense. If it does. So this has to rotate. I want this to rotate not in this direction, which will get it in, but clockwise. So I'm going to hold it here and rotate it clockwise, but do it 4 times. So with these two in front of me, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. Now notice what that did is these are conserved, but all of these are out, and that's what I wanted to do. So now I'm going to hold it here because these are going in the same direction. This, if this rotates, what I want to do is I want to rotate this. I don't want to rotate this up here flush because this showed me that that would be opposite. I want to rotate this counterclockwise. And this one, just to check myself, yep, this also wants to rotate counterclockwise. So I'm going to hold it here, and doing counterclockwise 4 times should put all these in. So counterclockwise, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, and it's done. So the main difference between a super skewb and a skewb, or Fisher Skewb and a skewb, is that when you're doing this final rotation, here you did opposite of what the corners had to be, here you did the same. Now if I can keep my perspective, this mental block should be the same thing. So where does this have to rotate? Well, not like that. Boom, like that. So in order for it to be in, this has to rotate, well, not clockwise, it's got to rotate counterclockwise. But I'm going to rotate it clockwise because I want this to be out. So I'm going to put this here and do the whole thing clockwise to put this out and this out. So I've got to make sure that this is my perspective, and that's difficult to think about. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay. I made a mistake because I put these in and I put these in. So that was a little bit of a miscalculation on my part. So I think I went clockwise and it turned this one in and turned this one out. So somehow I thought it wrong in my head, where I decided that I had to do a clockwise rotation. So let's just do a clockwise rotation again. Now, perspective is an interesting thing with this because I almost messed it up in the middle of it. I don't know if you caught that, but I almost did the rotation wrong. Obviously I did it wrong here. But if I were to do that again, so this would be a rotation over here. I guess I would call that a clockwise, so I want it to be counterclockwise. So I guess I am going to want a clockwise rotation if I hold it here. So let's try that again. Here to here. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, that one worked because you can see all these are out. Now this puzzle moves so avidly that sometimes it's hard to get the right maneuvers because it might turn accidentally. So anyway, this moves here. Okay, so this would be a clockwise turn to put it in. Would also be this, and this will also be a clockwise turn to put it in. No, actually, I'm sorry, not clockwise. It would be a counterclockwise because this is a clockwise if it was on the opposite side. So we'd want counterclockwise. So if I hold it here and do counterclockwise, then I think we may be able to get this solved. If this were just a Skewb, I do the opposite. I do counterclockwise. I do clockwise. In this case, I want counterclockwise. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. The fun thing about this is you could be in the middle of it and almost done and still looks totally scrambled. So 4, 4, and it isn't until the very end 4 where you find it is solved and done. Okay, so it's a neat, very, very neat little variation. It should be mass produced because it adds to the Super Skewb motif, so to speak. The movement is so smooth that I found it doing movements that I didn't want it to do, so I had to remember what I did before. It did take a lot of concentration, but I think with further mass production and refinement, it could really do very well in the mass-produced world. But it's a very fun puzzle, and like I say, to solve these puzzles, it's not as though it takes intelligence, it's just a trick. And you'll find that when you're just about to solve it and you're 2 moves away, it looks just as scrambled as it was when you're 20 moves away, if it's possible to be 20 moves away. So it's a neat little trick with this, and once you get the trick, you can solve any type of Skewb. Anyway, definitely worth having in the collection and a great little challenge if you like the Skewb variation. And as always, thanks for watching.